Without further delay, it's my pleasure to kick off the event. So we'd like to welcome you. Today's webinar, we're discussing the top challenges faced by multi-carrier parcel shippers. I'm your host today, and we're tackling the 5 common pitfalls for managing your multi-carrier parcel shipping. You'd be surprised how these challenges plague both small businesses and Fortune 100 companies alike. We're going to uncover practical strategies to solving the business multi-carrier parcel issues. There are also some critical UPS and FedEx updates that you need to know about. Joining us today is Paul Tedford, CEO at WM Synergy, along with industry veteran Shannon Valancourt, CEO of RateLinks. Together, they bring over 30 years of experience in the logistics and technical industries. Welcome, Paul and Shannon.
Thank you. Glad to be here.
Oh, Paul, you're muted.
Sorry, learning this new go-to meeting console here. My apologies. Good morning, everyone, and thank you, Michelle. Jen and I are excited to shed some light on these common parcel pitfalls and share some real-world examples and solutions.
I'm excited too. We all know parcel shipping can be extremely complex, but with the right processes, people, and technology in place, businesses can streamline their operations and drive success. Before we dive into the top issues managing parcel, Shannon, there's a deadline looming for UPS that affects many of our customers. Can you fill us in on that?
Yeah, I mean, we've got the new UPS authentication that just came up. It's coming up June 3rd, so a little over 2 weeks from now. Pretty much every shipping system out there that's using the UPS rating and shipping API has to be upgraded to use their new authentication. It's an OAuth in order to work. Otherwise, come June 3rd, system will be rendered useless. So we were actually just going through that this morning internally. Everything's all done on our side. We've already started converting customers over. It's pretty seamless. So that's the good news for us. So we should have everyone done here in the next few days, really. It doesn't take very long.
Well, thank you, Shannon. I bet it's hard for our clients to stay on top of all of these changes with parcel carriers. So let's jump right into talking about today's webinar topic, the top 5 parcel pitfalls. Shannon, how does downtime of the parcel carriers' APIs affect shippers?
Boy, that's one of the biggest concerns I know that a lot of customers have is around any downtime with the shipping system. I mean, the shipping system is really the last point in their process to get product out the door so they can invoice their customers, so they can, make the money that the companies are in business to make. So it's very crucial that the shipping systems are working and that, everything is not only up and running quickly, but that it's reliable. And that's one of the things, with these changes that carriers make, you need a good provider that's going to make sure that their software is staying compliant. And that's where, here at RateLinks, we're in the UPS Ready program. We've been in there for 22 years, recertifying our software. We're platinum level certified with FedEx. So that's the very top level. So that not only tells you about our compliance we have with FedEx and the breadth of support, but it also tells you about the volume that's rolling through us. We have a lot of large shippers that are using our system and are dependent on it running, and that platinum certification really kind of tells you how seriously we take it as well. The fact that FedEx would recognize us with that, which is really nice. And along with our other 35 carriers that we support on the parcel side, it's it is quite the task to stay up to date on it, and that's really what we pride ourselves in. And I think that's why a lot of the customers love the working with our solution and our people because of the collaboration and us being the experts on the parcel side. I think that's really important today. And because of the mission critical side of this application, we have a fully redundant Azure environment. That way we can make sure that our customers are up all the time, So whenever they try to ship something, that label always comes out. So, you know, parcels never changing. For all the 30 plus years that I've been in this industry, that's the one thing I've learned. It's always something going on with one carrier or another. So it's always been fun.
Paul, I'm sure you've worked with clients that aren't even open to considering or adding new technology to their tech stack. Can you give the audience some advice on why the if it ain't broke, don't fix it mentality is really making their lives much harder than it has to be?
Yeah, like Shannon mentioned, these APIs are really the lifeline of a lot of the shipping operations for our customers. And when they go down, it can cause significant disruptions.
Mhm.
So as Shannon said, you have to make sure you're working with the right partners that are certified as UPS ready and FedEx compatible, like RateLinks, and they have tight integration with the ERPs that we've implemented for our customers. What we like about RateLinks is the functionality that they have meets our customers' needs. I mean, we've had other solutions in the past like Insight Ship and things of that nature that are no longer um, you know available really. But they had a lot of different tools in them, and you can't find anything else like that out there before we met RateLinks. So it's been a lifesaver for a lot of our customers, but also the ones that didn't use it have really loved it because they can integrate and customize it to whatever the needs are of each of the customers based on the APIs as well.
Great insights, Paul. Thank you. We've heard from our clients that they often find themselves stuck with parcel carriers that aren't meeting their needs, but aren't ready to make a switch. Shannon, why is that?
Yeah, it's just the fear of change, the cost of change. With a lot of the other solutions out there, making a carrier change is kind of a big ordeal. And with the way that we've architected our software, we make it be very simple, very quick, very easy. We've had customers that on a Friday we're shipping with one carrier, and then on Monday every location switched to using the other carrier, and it was like a light switch. And that takes some coordination, and it takes a different level of architecture. And then also with the integration that we're doing with the ERP, sometimes uh, the rules have to be tweaked a little bit based on the different carriers. Between UPS and FedEx, they don't line up 100%. And I think that's a crucial thing to understand. So making that change easy and simple really has to be thought about on the front end side when you're putting a solution together like this. And that's where I think we've done that well. And that's from our experience, again, from being in the industry from the very, very beginning uh, and seeing this industry kind of grow up. You get to see what customers really want to be able to do and how quickly they want to be able to do it. And I think that's one of the real testaments to the team that we have here at RateLinks and how they've put all this together and work with our customers. So, that can be daunting to a customer to make a change to a carrier and hope that it's going to work. So, we found that our customers seem to have a much smoother time doing that.
Wow, it sounds like a lot of shippers are working a lot harder than they need to. Paul, can you share some of your thoughts on why shippers may be so resistant to change and fearful of trying new solutions, and how you've helped our clients overcome their reticence?
Yeah, absolutely, Michelle. I think it's a story as old as time, right? So everybody's afraid of the unknown a little bit and fear of change. So just like with an ERP system, right? So I think what we see is what really, you know, what we've seen is the proof from our customers, how they've actually been able to use rate links to improve their shipping processes, improve the speed, the training, and those kind of things has really helped that. So um, one of the things that we see as one of the fears is the amount of time it will take to implement a new solution. What our customers have experienced, our joint customers with RateLinks, is how quick they can get up and running on this solution, and it just works. One of the things that I've heard from other customers that have used other shipping solutions is fear of multiple screens or the fear of the shipping folks having to be trained on multiple screens and that kind of thing. So that this is a very simple tool for just straight line with what the shipping department needs and just what they need. So very streamlined. They can ship really quickly, learn it really quickly. Training is very easy. Um, there's many shipping solutions out there as well that people have tried over time, whether it's the old Clipper ship or I don't want to name all of them, but they don't integrate as well with the different APIs that we have. So the RateLinks team uses the Synergy API for visual, for example, or the Infor APIs or Acumatica APIs for our customers, and it just works right out of the box, and the feature set is all available to them without having to worry about something not working and not being integrated. And then support. I think one of the other big things is support. So one of the things that's important to us at WM Synergy is the customers that we have feel like any ISV or partner that we bring in, like a RateLinks, holds their hands through the implementation, wraps a blanket around the project, so it just ends up working the way that it was sold. And there's ongoing support as well. And RateLinks with our customers have proven it, and we have multiple references there to prove that. So.
Those are certainly crucial issues to address. Now, Shannon, could you give us the lay of the land about how much loss of productivity you see based on different shipment types, and is it necessary?
Yeah, I mean, first of all, Paul talking about Clipper ship, I almost shed a tear on that one. That's that's how I started in this industry, was installing Clipper ship. I lived in Massachusetts and worked at Tracer Research for a time, and I worked as a reseller, reselling and implementing Clipper ship. So I can tell you stories. For those of you that still have Clipper ship, try Escape DAG once. That'll get you to a special screen, or the 5121 screen. Those were our common go-tos in the old Clipper ship days. So, wow, that's almost going to derail my whole thought process here for a second. That takes
I
me
don't know
back.
why that one came to mind. There's so many I could have chosen. So.
I'm like, yeah, of all the ones you took, you had to take that one. That was deep in the archives. What's funny is I was at the Gartner Supply Chain Symposium last week, and there's a guy that I run into every time, and he and I worked together back in the 90s at Tracer. So we always talk about the old Clipper ship days, and we're always like, yeah, you remember those days? And I'm like, yeah, the good old DOS days when you had to manage memory and things like that. So again, you go back to those days and you look at today. I mean, what's changed a lot is just the volume. I think, back in the good old Clipper ship days, when it was in its heyday in the 90s, there was not as much automation required. I mean, back then, you didn't really need a compliant label. There was no 2D barcode. There was no maxi code. Um, you printed out the shipping number on a 9-line label, and you still had a manifest book that you had to manifest. And it's like now and you could do that because of the volume. Today, the parcel volume is so high, and the complexity has changed so much that you have to really automate a lot of that. And what we find is there's two things. When we come into a new customer, even if it's a current Synergy customer, uh, their solution that they had either has some workaround that they have to do because they just couldn't automate something where, hey, once the document prints out, they have to take a pen and overwrite something. Or they have a lot of entry they have to do, manual entry, and that speaks more to the integration, where maybe the integration isn't quite as complete as they want. So you think about those human touches at the volume of parcel that people are doing today. I mean, you're starting to talk about taking up, hours of time to do a rudimentary process that could be completely automated. And that's where, between the partnership of RateLinks and Synergy, WM Synergy, we're able to integrate that completely and automate all of those manual processes to make it as simple as possible. So that way, when a user gets in front of the new system, the training is very quick, very easy, and the mistakes are very minimal. So that way, if you do have um, temps that maybe are coming in during peak season, or your normal person is out in the warehouse, it's very easy for somebody to get up to speed to use the system. Because again, it's all about efficiency and accuracy. Because nowadays with parcel, if something's wrong, there's a charge for it. And it's like, don't worry, UPS and FedEx has got your back on that. They'll just charge you for it. Not a big deal. And that's where I think, um, you know, growing up and coming back from the clipper ship days and seeing what that used to be like compared to now, it's very different. It's so much more complicated. And then you talk about, international shipments and what you have to do there with paperless invoicing and, integrating all of that information. That's where I believe the productivity can be really, had at that point, and you can remove a lot of those manual interactions that we're seeing. And that's where I see a lot of value that we bring on the customer side.
It sounds like automating is the answer to really speeding things up and helps with accuracy. And it's never more critical to speed and scale things up during peak season. It's the ultimate stress test for parcel shippers. Shannon, can you tell us about how peak season can be a stress fest for shippers?
It just comes down to volume. Customers are used to doing their normal volume. Sometimes during peak, they'll be 3, 4, 5 times more volume than normal. And any type of slowdowns that they have in their process or the system are accentuated. So to be able to have a system that can, as we say, kind of live and breathe with them is very helpful. And that's where we have a lot of customers where their peak season could be almost half of their annual volume. And so for a 6-week period, they could be doing, what they would normally do in 6 months. And, our back end in Azure is able to scale. So it'll grow with them. It'll add resources. So that way, even though they're sending 5 times the amount of volume, the system has 5 times the amount of resource. So they don't feel it. And with the automation that's in place, there's, again, those manual pieces are gone, which is typically the point in the process that gets really accentuated during peak season. So that's why I feel like, having a system that can scale way up, has a great backbone is really crucial, especially on the parcel side. Just to give you an idea, our largest customer last year during their peak season processed 250,000 transactions in one day. And it's like, that's, we have some customers where they go from 250 transactions to maybe 1,000 in a day. I mean, that's 4x for them. And they're like, oh my God, 1,000. It's like, yeah, well, you're on a system that did 250,000 for one customer last year. And, this year I'm sure it's going to be even more. And again, that's where having the environment that we have, and in today's day and age with cloud and all that, it is a lot easier to do than it used to be. But again, the system still has to be written in a way where it can scale like that. And I still think it comes down to the integration as well, to make sure that the integration with the ERP is rock solid too, because it's like, great, we've got all this volume rolling through us, but then if we're going at a speed, or if we've got something not quite right with the integration with the ERP, that part will fall down. And again, that's where having, both sides of that equation handled is really important. And that's what our partnership with WM Synergy allows us to do here.
Great. So finally, let's touch on the difficulty of changing ERP systems, processes, or business rules. Paul, can you touch on some of the issues our clients have seen when they upgrade their ERP or change ERP software?
Yeah, absolutely, Michelle. So anytime that you're changing a process, like you're going from the shipping entry that's in either the Infor or Acumatica or other product that you might be using, there's some change there, right? So, and once you get that done and set up, you don't want to have to go do it again. So oftentimes we see clients, with their hands tied behind their back with their ERP upgrades because, there's software connected to it that, we had a manufacturing client that couldn't get the latest features and new enhancements because their shipping software wasn't compatible with the upgrade, or they knew that they wanted to switch ERPs to get more functionality, but they can't because the ERP they chose won't integrate with a critical business system like their shipping or TMS system. If they can't get product out the door, it impacts their revenue and makes for some very unhappy customers.
Shannon, can you tell us more about why it's important to find a shipping solution that is extensible and extends the power of the ERP?
Yeah, I think that's the key in terms of how we've put our solution together. It's extensibility is the real way to describe our software. So it allows us to, extensibility, textbook definition is you can extend the capabilities of the software. So it's not like you're customizing, but you're customizing. Customizing software means you have a custom binary. So your EXE is a custom EXE. You can't take upgrades. That's not what extensibility is. Extensibility is that you have a core standard product, and then you have hooks that allow you to extend its capabilities. That's how our software is written. And we're able to extend those capabilities to drive business rules. So we could go into a visual customer that maybe has a very unique business rule. I think one that we just ran into lately is being able to process credit cards and stop a shipment if the credit card fails. Nobody else does anything like that, or it's very infrequent. So how would we solve that problem? And that's where our extensibility comes into play, where we can quickly add that code into this extensible layer that we have, and we do it just for that customer. So that way that customer has their own unique feel and capability. Just like if they switched ERPs or versions of the ERP, and maybe there's a new user definable field that they want to use. Maybe it needs to print on a label, or it needs to drive some logic or do some markup logic with rates that are getting sent back to the ERP. We have that layer where we can do that special rule just for that customer. And again, that's where also the extensibility allows us to automate a lot of these processes and rules that customers maybe were doing by hand. The customer who has a document print out and then they have to fill in the rest of the fields because the integration wasn't complete. We don't have that problem because of the extensibility. We can now, write that little bit of code just for that customer. And again, that's what allows us to not only deploy quickly, because the amount of code that we're writing is pretty small. You think about our integration with Visual, it's pretty standard. So we're starting with that standard integration. And then as we go to each of the Visual customers, we can make little tweaks based on their specific business requirements. It's like, hey, here's my markup language. Here's how I like to mark up rates that get sent back to Visual so I can invoice my customer. I take discounted rates and I mark them up, or I take published rates and I mark them down, or I do some combination. It's like, it doesn't matter to us. We can do all of that and fit right into their process very, very nicely. And that is what's needed today. I mean, it really is a different ballgame with shipping these days because of just how much product is moving different than how it used to in the past. And then you think about all the different modes of freight and how those have to be handled. And, our one solution does all of that. We have to be extensible in order to deliver the type of solution we're delivering to customers today, because their businesses are more complex as well. And that's what we're allowing them to do.
Wow, parcel shipping is so much more complex than I thought. Today, we talked about these 5 problems parcel shippers face. Problem 1, when parcel carriers' APIs are down. Problem 2, adding or changing parcel carriers. Problem 3, the number of steps to manage different shipment types. Problem 4, scaling during peak seasons. Problem 5, difficulty in changing ERPs, processes, or rules. Thank you to Paul and Shannon for also talking about real-world scenarios to bring these challenges into perspective and how to solve them. And that wraps up our discussion for today. Thanks again, Paul and Shannon, for sharing your insights into the top multi-carrier parcel pitfalls and how businesses can overcome them. And please stay tuned for our next event with RateLink CEO Shannon Valancourt to discuss how you can simplify and optimize your LTL and parcel shipping operations. Until then, stay efficient and keep those packages moving smoothly. And thanks so much for joining us today, everyone.
Thank you. Thanks, Michelle.
Thank you.
Yeah, thanks, Michelle. Thanks, Paul.